Good evening, Galaxy fans. I guess good evening, LAFC fans too. While we're at it, my name is Mike Gray. I cover the striker both for the Galaxy and LAFC. To my left is my faithful co-host, my partner in crime, whatever you want to call him, Alex Ruiz. Alex, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Mike. How you doing?
I'm emotional, buddy. I've had that injury of mine the past couple weeks, so I've spent a little more time at home than usual. And I actually cleaned my workspace this weekend, and I got all sorts of little mementos from over the years. If you're listening, me and Alicia Rodriguez, we actually came up with the El Trafico name back in our SB Nation days, and the name was so controversial that at one point the Athletic actually wrote an article on it, and I'm actually in there, and some dude who I forgot his name. No need to get into it, but yeah, the name used to be super controversial, but now we've got the 20th El Trafico coming up. There's already been 20 of these, but dude, I don't know about you, Alex, but when I heard that this Rose Bowl game was gonna sell out tomorrow, I mean, I just got a jolt of electricity because I mean, think about it, like you have BMO Stadium. There's going to be 4 times as many fans all in one building tomorrow. It's going to be absolutely insane.
I know, and I think the most fun part visually is that the stadium's going to be split in half. One half LAFC fans, one side LA Galaxy fans, and reminds me a lot of what they do in the Champions League final, right? Where it's just one end is one team and the other end has the other team. And I think it's going to be quite the spectacle. You're going to have both supporter groups really going at it. I think LAFC supporter groups are really going to want to show up knowing that, this is the LA Galaxy's first home game. I think with all that's happened in the last month, with the boycott and supporter groups coming back for this game is definitely something I'm sure that they're very much looking forward to. So in on that thought, like let's be honest, this game was going to happen on the first week of the season. Like the LA Galaxy supporter section would have been empty because they were still in the boycott. So luckily enough for us, those people who want to see a great, beautiful visual, game out there in the stands, I mean, you're gonna see it on the 4th of July. I think it's gonna be great. I think it's gonna be a big game, one of the biggest games in the entire country. It's going to be free on MLS Season Pass. I think it's going to be televised on Fox too, if I'm correct. But I mean, this is a big game, and you're going to have so many eyeballs at the stadium, both in there and on TV.
Yeah, I mean, for a while it was perceived as not only a missed opportunity for MLS and for the Galaxy, but if you're a Galaxy fan, like you were not looking forward to this game, and then in sort of a weird way, now you've got a million eyeballs on Messi, and you have all these people wondering, well, what's MLS all about? And then you have this game, this blockbuster, this just magnum opus, and now the Galaxy, the league, not only Galaxy, but the whole league, they've got this showcase coming up right before Messi enters the league. So it's funny how things work out sometimes. But yeah, before we get to that, we got to talk about the Cali Clasico. I'll tell you what. Positive performance, Alex. They even though they were outshot 15-11, they did outshoot San Jose 6-3 in shots on goal, which for me is what matters. They had a slight edge in possession. They had a few opportunities to win the game, and maybe they didn't get the 3 points, but I mean, what more could you want from the group, all things considered?
Yeah, I think like you said, Mike. I think the Galaxy played relatively pretty well. I think that they were, had some really good moments. I think Preston Judge should have had a goal earlier in the game where he didn't couldn't get the chip right. But I mean, the thing that's going to obviously overshadow what happened is obviously the penalty call that got overturned late in the game. Definitely very controversial penalty that Greg Vanney let his thoughts be known after the game about it. But also too, I think the fact that San Jose and the Galaxy defense kind of, I don't know. I guess the goals were kind of cheap in my opinion. The first one, Mavinga just tries to pass the ball inside his own box. San Jose quickly presses, and again, San Jose has been pressing all game long, so I don't understand why you don't at least boot that far away, and try to force San Jose to play in possession instead of play the game of let's press and win the ball in these spots. Just boot the ball away. That's what I would have done in that situation. Unfortunately, San Jose capitalized on that, and then there's a moment in the second half where Dan Jovic has kind of all the space in front of him, but tries to go direct that goal, try to score a goal. San Jose gets the ball really quickly. They get in possession, counter, and then eventually, a shot from Espinoza with a lot of help from Mavinga, a deflected shot that goes past Jonathan Bond. So I think it's going to get overshadowed in this game is the fact that the guys that gave up goals like that, and not the fact that they were able to hold their own for a while in that game. And let's be honest, the stadium's not that great. And the fact they were able to kind of play in that kind of environment pretty well is a testament to kind of how good they can be. But again, this defense has just let them down time after time again this season.
Yeah, it's disappointing because they had such a good game plan. I mean, this new identity that they've developed recently where they grind out results, they were doing an excellent job of that. And then something I predicted was that the Galaxy could take advantage of San Jose being a bit soft on set pieces, particularly at the front post. And then what do you know? Raheem Edwards comes up with that header, and then the Galaxy had the early lead. As far as going back to the call, there's two frames of mind. Like typically, sometimes you just have this knowledge that you're going to get some calls, and sometimes they'll be close, sometimes they'll be ridiculous, and then sometimes you won't get the calls, and they'll be close, sometimes they'll be ridiculous. And that was an absolutely ridiculous call. I don't know what the referee was thinking. I don't really care about the Yule thing, but I mean that cost the Galaxy 2 points. Which is unfortunate because, I mean, the Galaxy got to start picking up points as soon as possible, and, we'll talk about that in a second. But, yeah, they took advantage of that set piece. You're right. Danny singled out Joveljic for criticism for being selfish and not just driven the ball into the corner. Preston Judd has an excellent game, has a few really good opportunities, scores a goal. Is he not the clear-cut starter at this point?
I think he has to be. And, today at Media Availability, we talked to Greg, and, I have an article out in the Striker tomorrow morning kind of talking about, Preston's a guy who was an MLS Super Draft pick, and now he's kind of evolved into a guy who's always getting into dangerous positions. And sure, he does need a little bit of work on finishing and being more efficient in that final third. But the fact that, this guy gets himself into those positions, like, that's an asset in itself already. And I think the one thing Greg kind of talked about was kind of just seeing him evolve in his game and a different type of finishes. Instead of, these right foot bangers, be a little bit more technical, use your left, kind of do different things, bring more dimensions to his game. And I think, Preston's young, still 23 years old. I think he can develop that. It's definitely hard to kind of build that technical ability. But I think the fact that, he's able to get himself in these situations and, constantly be a guy who's beating up other center backs is such a big asset to have. And, it, not only helps him, but his teammates as well. And we kind of saw that, for the second goal, right? Douglas Costa is just running through the middle, and then Preston Judd's kind of, botting some of the center backs and then makes the run, and boom, just shoots it and goes in. I think we need to see a lot more of that.
Making things happen. Let's see here. I was about to invite some fans into the chat, but first of all, we'll talk about the homestand. The Galaxy, they're going to play LAFC in what's a bit of a weird one, but after that they have Philly at home, Vancouver away, Real Salt Lake at home, and Chicago at home, followed by another Cali Clasico. I don't know what to call it, Mike's Law of game meets game or whatever, but we've been talking about how the Galaxy, they always up their game against quality opponents, so in a way having a difficult strength of schedule is actually a strength for the Galaxy. So, Alex, while I invite people into the chat, why don't you let me know? They've got 5 games, and then again, they've got this Cali Clasico with a Leagues Cup sandwiched in between. Once they're done with all that, there's 10 games left. So you tell me, we both know that this is important, but how many points do you think that the Galaxy need to pick up in his next 5 games? Or how many wins, whatever metric you want to use?
I mean, everyone you talk to will tell you 3 points all the way, but realistically, this team just defensively just falters in the wrong moments, and I think we are at a point in the season where it's just not reliable. I think we've seen some bright spots all season long, but just as a collective group, I don't think it's going to be great. Obviously, right now, having Jalen Neal and Eric Zavaleta out, both of the international duty, Zavaleta may miss a bit more time since he did suffer an injury with El Salvador. Right now, I'm kind of just like, I don't know how much faith I want to put in that back line, and it's not a lot. So I think they can come away with maybe 3 wins. Again, like you said, Mike, this team always plays up to the level of their competition, and they're going to be going against LAFC and the Philadelphia Union, and I think they'll be really good opponents. For those teams, I'll definitely give them a lot and to work. And ultimately, I wouldn't be surprised to see an upset. Again, this team has shown some quality throughout the season. It's not like this is a horrible team. This team is like the best chance creating team in the league. They just not efficient in that final third. And like I said, if like Judd, if this team and attack can evolve to be efficient, then it's a whole completely different story. And possibly you can go on a similar run that you went to last season. 12 unbeaten, where it helped elevate you from out of the playoffs to into the playoffs. And again, I think the gap is maybe 9 or 10 points from the last playoff position. Sure, that does seem a little far, but I mean anything's possible in Major League Soccer, and we've seen bigger comebacks.
Yeah, RSL went from like 10th to like third in like a few games, so it's definitely possible to climb up the ladder. If the Galaxy can get back-to-back wins, that's sort of the metric where it's like, all right, you start to build some momentum. But I guess we got to get to the big one. El Trafico at the Rose Bowl tomorrow, 7:30 kickoff. Although if you're attending, dude, get there as soon as humanly possible. It's going to be an awesome game. Ricky Puig, you were talking about press availability. He was saying how his family's going to be here and how excited he was, and I just happened to be happy because I could understand every single word of Spanish he said, which is a victory for me and my Duolingo journey. But yeah, so dude, this is going to be an awesome game. 1:30 is when the parking lots open. FanFest begins at 2:30. Stadium gates open at 5:30. Warm ups at 6:45. Then the game starts at 7:30. Like I said, get there as soon as humanly possible. There's going to be a lot of tailgating. There's going to be a lot of fans. It's going to be a very festive atmosphere. I mean, it's 4th of July for crying out loud, so it's going to be like a party. There's going to be a party vibe. My suggestion, if you're going, other than, obviously getting there as soon as possible, just be sure to mentally prepare yourself for everything. There's going to be 90,000 fans there, so you can expect to be waiting quite a bit on your way out of the parking lot. You may run into some rowdy fans. If, like I said, mentally prepare yourself. If someone yells at you or says something stupid, just walk away. Who cares? And then, as long as you stay out of danger, stay out of I'm talking about it like you guys are kids or something. Stay out of dim lit areas. But as long as you guys watch yourselves, we'll all be good. And then just on a personal note, I like when the rivalry is competitive but fun, and we're all having fun. So no one fight, no one do anything stupid, and then we'll be good. And then we'll move on to the actual game itself, the actual El Trafico. Alex, like I was saying before, this game was not something you wanted to do if you're an LA Galaxy fan. You were not looking forward to it. And then the narrative kind of changed because LAFC, they're a machine. They're a juggernaut. And not only that, but, they had just won MLS Cup, so they had that momentum. They also had the Champions League run, which meant that they were fitness-wise about a month ahead. So the first few months of the season, they were unstoppable. And then they had that heartbreak against Lyon. They lost the CCL final. Typically, teams in MLS who lose CCL finals, they go on what's called, a hangover. And the LAFC have been pretty poor since. Their goals have dried up. Their lack of depth has caught up to them. Bouanga stopped scoring goals. And, not only did they suffer the mental fatigue, but, man, physically they're exhausted. And even Torundolo, he was hinting at it. This is going to be their 30th game, for El Trafico. And, we're just in the beginning of July. There's 4 months left to go in the season. There's a 34-game regular season. They're tired. And, they give Torundolo a bit of credit. I can see why he's been complaining lately about just the rules and players and stuff. His team's just going to be garbage has been garbage for the last few months, and it's strictly because he doesn't have the depth that's required because MLS, we're not spending the money. So I do have some sympathy with him on that end. But okay, tangent aside, so you might go, okay, well, what's gone wrong with LAFC? In addition to everything I mentioned, you wrote that really good article with Justin recently, and it was about sort of how Chicharito and Vela, they're both kind of on their last legs. Vela only has a handful of non-penalty kick goals. He's got 5 assists, but he's strictly a facilitator, and he's slowing down. And again, once that happened, then Bouanga, they were really relying on him for goals. So once the goals dried up, LAFC, they've won 2 games in the last 10 all competitions. They cannot score a goal to save their lives. They only have 5 goals in the last 7 games. So, yeah, I mean, against Dallas, they had this nice tactical battle. Toronto's a very smart dude. He had a week with his team. They go out in a 3-4-3. They're dominating the game with 63% possession. They end up, I think, had 16 shots on the day, but their expected goals was only like a 1.00. They're not creating clear-cut chances, and they're fatigued. So this went from a game where LAFC were going to dominate. They were going to crush the Galaxy in their own like celebratory game, and now this is a situation, Alex, where both the Galaxy and LAFC, they both have something to lose.
Yeah, I mean, again, like you mentioned with Carlos Vela, yeah, he's not been in the greatest form, but again, he's a guy who always shows up against the LA Galaxy, and he always has. I mean, he did so this season when he played in the, first El Trafico of the season back in April, if I'm correct. So, I mean, this is a guy that, sure, may not be having his greatest moment, but always finds a way to kind of just turn it up against the Galaxy. And I think in this game, I think there's going to be a lot more motivation. Again, you're going to have maybe 40,000 LAFC fans on one side and another 40,000 Galaxy fans. So, I think this is definitely going to get the best out of him, and again, he should be a big danger to watch. Really excited. I really hope Raheem Edwards gets the start. We all know that he's a guy that always plays his best in this matchup when he's with the Galaxy. And I think having the competition of Julian Alda this year has really kind of, I think, maybe recalibrated his game a bit. I think his last couple starts have been pretty good. Hasn't been caught up too high of the pitch. Has been putting in good defensive shifts. So I'm looking forward again to a Edwards versus Vela matchup if we get that today. Tomorrow. So from that aspect, I think sure, LAFC do not look as scary right now, but it's a derby game and anything can happen. Again, even if the Galaxy team was on a 5-game losing streak, I still wouldn't count them out. Again, this game always gets the best out of these players. I'm excited to see kind of how some players like Ricky Puig kind of play out. Obviously he's gonna have family flying over here. The whole thing that happened with him and Chiellini, the Payaso thing. Definitely excited to see if there's any more to that in this game. I doubt there will be, but nonetheless, there's a lot of storylines to look out for, and I'll have an article in the Striker tomorrow morning talking about the 3 players you need to keep an eye on and kind of what they said about this matchup today.
Yeah, they did talk about the jersey incident. When at the last El Trafico, when the Galaxy beat the U.S. Open Cup kids, Ricky Puig held up his jersey at towards the 3-2-5-2, and then it was supposed to be kind of a controversy. But Kellen Acosta, someone tried to get him with the bait. He didn't take the bait. He just was very generic in his words. And then even Chiellini, I thought it was conciliatory. It was more, when he was being pressed, like, how do you feel? And he just kind of matter of factly explained what happened, but that, it's not a big deal. I think they're both focused on their seasons as opposed to, worrying about like that type of thing. I mean,
yeah, for sure. I think at this point, it looks like, you look back in the rearview mirror and it's kind of just back there. Again, a lot's happened. Both teams are out of the Open Cup, so it doesn't really matter anymore. But I mean, I think this is still going to provide a new moment because
Colin Costa himself said like he was like, man, that game was years ago. So, but yeah, LAFC, if you're looking for impact players, Matthias Bogusz, he's very good at set pieces and he's got an absolute cannon from long range. If I were Bond, I would definitely be on my toes anytime that guy's got the ball. Danny Bwonga is obviously a big game player. There's going to be a few times in this match where he's just going to do the FIFA thing and he'll just be at another level, so the Galaxy are going to have to watch him, obviously. And Kellen Acosta, he's a huge part of what makes him successful, and he's been injured for large stretches of the season. But he came back as a second-half substitute versus Dallas, and so he's going to be someone to keep an eye on. Alex, any X factors? Because I was going to talk about Douglas Costa earlier, but now that we're thinking about it, he's been picking it up lately.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm kind of expecting Douglas Costa to kind of have his moment. He's been fit. I think Raheem Edwards today kind of talked about it. When this guy's fit, he's the quality player. He's the guy that a lot of people envisioned he would be when he joined the LA Galaxy. So I think for me, the biggest thing you have to keep an eye on is just how this attack functions. And what I mean by that is how can they coexist with one another? Because again, last game we saw Judd kind of have his thing, scores goals. We saw Costa do his thing, but Tyler Boyd kind of felt a little bit left out. of the impact party. And he's a guy that is going to run at defenses. That's a workhorse. I just want, and again, he's been an LAFC killer if we think about the last two games, where he scored goals against them and some great goals. So if there's a guy to keep an eye out, it's Tyler Boyd. I think he's going to be a huge emphasis in this game. I really believe that he's going to have maybe at least one goal contribution. He always shows up to this game, and he's played in some intense rivalry games in Turkey. I mean, they don't mess around in there in Turkey. When he's with Besiktas and some of the other clubs there, like, they don't mess around. It feels like more like you're watching like martial arts than you are a football game sometimes with those rivalry games. So I'm really looking forward to see how Tyler Boyd kind of does in this situation. Like I said, this isn't new for him, so I think he's going to enjoy this moment. I think he's going to be able to expose LAFC, and once again, he's going to show that he is the new LAFC killer. He took Samuel Grandsier's number 11, who was that guy, and I guess the number 11 makes you the LAFC killer. So excited to see what's going to happen from his end on the field, because I don't think a lot of people are talking about that right now.
Good observation, Alex. With a bit of momentum right now, obviously unbeaten in 5 straight matches. What's Vanny's approach for this game? Does he continue with the pragmatic sort of setup, or does he try to win the game on his own terms? Because I mean, it's a home field advantage, but only in name. Although the one thing I do like is that the Rose Bowl is more of a stadium for soccer than you would get at something like, say, Stanford Stadium last week.
Yeah, again, considering the Galaxy situation right now with very limited center backs, and again defensively they've been weak. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. Again, I think the last game, regular season game, that we saw between these two teams, LAFC were okay to give the Galaxy possession. They were like, okay, go on, we'll counter you, and we'll take advantage of your mistakes. I think if you're LA, the wise thing to do is be pragmatic. It's not the sexy thing, it's not the good-looking thing to do, but I mean, it's going to be your best bet at getting this result. You don't necessarily have to just, put 10 men behind the ball. All you have to do is just kind of not do those high-risk passes. Do 1-2 touches. Be opening spaces. Don't be making these long runs where there's gaps in the middle. Play smart. I think that's the pragmatic Galaxy that we'll see. They're not a team, like I said, who's going to just bunker down and counter you. They can do that, of course, but that's just not who they are. If they can just play the simple kind of low-risk kind of football, I think it could work. Again, this is the derby game, so anything can happen. There's going to be moments for sure where the game opens up and, it's back and forth, definitely. But I think if you're the LA Galaxy, you kind of need to go with the mentality of let's just not shoot ourselves in the foot.
Pragmatic is sexy, Alex.
It can be. I'm not saying it's not, and obviously, it's made some great teams in years.
I'm horsing around. Don't take me seriously.
No, but I mean, I mean it. It generally works tactically, but my thing is like the Galaxy aren't just those kind of pragmatic teams. If you think about it, if they're gonna pull off pragmatic, they're gonna make it as good looking as possible.
I tell you what, if that ref hadn't screwed up, Galaxy would have had 3 points, and that would have been very sexy. But all right, stop saying sexy, Mike. Okay, if you want to know my opinion on this match before we take off, Alex has a life. For me, the Rose Bowl and the giant crowd, it's going to add another layer of unpredictability. Right now, I'm telling you, I think there's going to be at least one goal that's going to be just like a Rose Bowl goal, where it's like, someone's gonna just freeze. There's gonna be some sort of moment. Someone's gonna have a tap in, and then both sides are gonna kind of wake up and go, all right, this is for real. Because I mean, I've been to that stadium a few times for capacity crowds. I was there for the U.S. Mexico game. I had a story where Zach Abdel used to be the former goalkeeper coach for LAFC. That's the game I went to where I bought him a club sandwich, and then I thought it was all special and smart, and then I gave it to him, and then. That's where he told me he was Muslim, and then that was a nice life experience at was it 10 years old? Because I mean, obviously, club sandwich is ham, and who can't eat ham? Muslims. So, yeah, I mean, it's always nice to learn cultural stuff and blah 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 blah. But yeah,
Mashallah.
dude, I've gone I've practiced like on the Rose Bowl pitch. Like I've gone to hundreds of games there as a kid. Ironically, I never once just went like kind of in the tunnel, locker room, press box area. So that was always cool to just grow up and be able to do that. That was always like my goal of mine was like.
I'll be honest with you, this is gonna be my first time going to the Rose Bowl. So my first time ever getting this experience of going to this historic stadium. Definitely looking forward to it. Though I've had a lot of people tell me it can be hell at times, getting in and out. So I'm taking their word for it, taking your word for it, Mike. I am definitely, making sure that I get there 3 hours early and I leave 3 hours later. So that's the word of advice I was told today. So I'm gonna do that.
Alex, dude, you're invited to the party tomorrow, man. There's gonna be an after party after the Galaxy game, after the media. There's gonna be a cool after party. In fact, it's so cool. I don't even know where it is yet, but someone's gonna give me
We'll
someone's
figure
gonna
it
send
out.
me a double top secret invite, like, and then
We'll
maybe
figure it out.
maybe we'll find a way to get you guys there tomorrow too. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be the party bus is right around the corner.
Yeah, for sure. I
All
think
right.
the one thing I guess, just say before we leave, I think just enjoy this because again, this is a once in how long they're gonna do this kind of event. I kind of hope it does go well and doesn't end on a sour note or there's some things here and there that go pretty bad. But I mean, I think it's gonna be a pretty cool event. Again, soccer in Los Angeles has been big for years. This isn't anything new. So I think having both LA teams at this stadium. We've seen how packed it is when Mexico plays in the stadium, and when European teams come here. I'm just excited to see that a Major League Soccer game is going to be played here, and I'm really excited to see kind of how the fans are. Again, the visual aspects that we talked about earlier. Half LAFC, half LA Galaxy fans. And again, this is El Trafico. There's never really a dull El Trafico moment, so really looking forward to this game, 4th of July. Enjoy the fireworks if you're going to be after the game, if you're going to be there. So we're looking forward, and I hope the rest of America watches this game because America soccer. So let's just
No,
watch it.
enjoy the fireworks, everyone. We're gonna have a great time. My name is Matt Gray. I covered Galaxy and LAFC for the Striker. This is Alex Ruiz. He's a baller. Read his articles on the Striker. Subscribe to the Striker. Take it easy.